Okay, so setting up our page template. The first thing we want to do is insert a table, and we're going to structure our work by putting everything inside that table. So the very first table, we're just going to set one row, one column. We'll make it 1024 pixels with a border thickness of 0. So just to recap, that's one column, one row, so I did that the wrong way around, table width of 1024 pixels, and a border thickness of 0. And then you press OK. Now the easiest thing, if you're going to struggle with the previous video of CSS templates, is to just put all your information within that one table. That's going to be your easiest option. The other option is to assign that CSS sheet to this table. So we click on it here, and you can see class down at the bottom currently says none. I can choose my table, and it will just assign that style sheet to the table, so then you can see clearly how much room you've got to use. If you are going to forget that, just keep the normal table. Just make sure when you're viewing it you don't have to scroll down, and don't extend the column width in any way, and you should be okay for those marks. So as you can see, I'm starting in the middle here, so I'm just going to change my defaults to left and top, and that should put me up here. Whichever method you choose, you then want to be inserting tables inside your table if you can remember how to, because that will help you structure your work a little bit better. So if we insert another table, this time it's going to be changed to 100%. So we're having it 100% of this first table that we're putting it into. So the first table we want is just one row and column again, because that's going to be where our banner goes. So we insert, and we look for image, and we go find our banner, which should be in my assets, and we insert our banner. We put alternative text in of banner, and then our banner's inserted. We shouldn't need to change the size of that, so we should just enter out there, and there you can see my banner. It sort of matches my background. It's a little bit lighter brown, but it fits in quite nicely. And we've got that green again for the text and the surrounding. So we're thinking about our colour scheme. So we can go and update our evaluation. To create my page template, I used a CSS style to apply a border to my table and to set the size so that it would be 1024 by 768 to meet requirements without scrolling. I then inserted a nested table. So we call tables that are inside other tables nested tables. So I then inserted a nested table for the banner and inserted an image. We might then want to think about what I just said about the browns. So when creating my table style, I set the font colour to match the green of the banner using the code, and then we go look at that number again. So it's 005B37, 005B37. Just put the hash in front so we can see it's in hexadecimals. Using the code, and I created a brown background, slightly lighter than the banner brown. This matches my colour scheme and will help make the whole microsite consistent. We make sure we save our evaluation. We're then ready to move on to the buttons or to the navigation bar. So next thing we want is the navigation bar. You can either have it down the left side or you can have it across the middle. It's entirely up to you with your design decision. I'm going to insert another table here that this time has 3 columns, and I'm 100% still, everything else stays the same, and I'm just going to insert that to put my text in. I'm going to highlight all of these and make them center so that my buttons look a little bit better, and I might need to go back to my exam just to check what my pages were called. So the first one was obviously home page, then we had shop and cafe, then we had clubs intro page. So home page, shop and cafe, intro page, or clubs introduction. The next thing that I want to do is, if I look at that exam, because I'm highlighting things when I've done the exam, I can remember that it says somewhere here, pages to include suitable titles with appropriate text. So the next thing I'm going to do, so I'm just going to click here, and then I'm going to insert another table, this time with just 1 column. And here's going to be my suitable text. So I'm going to call this home page. I'm going to center it. And then one thing I didn't do when I was setting up my template was set up headings. So if I click on page properties here, I can go and set up my headings and my links. So I don't want my links to go a blue colour because I don't think it'll go on top of that brown. So I might try having my links a yellowish colour, but we'll see how that looks. We might have to change those, we'll see how they look. And on my headings, I might want a couple of headings just to make things a little bit bigger. And again, I might make them that yellowish colour. In fact, I won't make them that yellowish colour. I'll make them a slightly different green, because obviously we don't want to confuse people with what our links are and our headings. So if I highlight this now, and then I can just change it to heading 1. And it'll make it a little bit bigger and just stand out as a heading so we know what page it is. I'm just going to attempt to put a link on here just to see what that yellow looks like, and that yellow looks okay, so we're going to leave that as it is. Just get rid of the fake link I've put on there, and that's starting to look really good for my beginning of my first page, my page template. Just a couple more things I need to do to make sure I'm within the exam requirements and I'm making my life a little bit easier for myself. So if we go back to the exam, on our page template, we've got the navigation bar now for the 3 main pages. We've got the suitable text on our logo. We haven't got this link. So the link needs to go to www.smartleisurepark.co.uk. I'm going to copy and paste this. You may not have an electronic copy of the exam, so if you don't, you need to copy that link really carefully. Because it's asking for it over the logo, we're going to do it as a hotspot. So we draw our hotspot over it. We're just going to draw a square hotspot over there, and we're going to link the hotspot. So we press OK here. You can see we've got a link down here. We'll just get rid of that, and I'll just paste that web page in. Remember, it's not a real web page, so it won't actually take you anywhere, but you should see that the link has been done. And you can see you've got that kind of greenish colour over your logo. The final thing then to do before we start saving as for our page template is to do our 3 links here. So the first thing I might want to do is just insert that final table where I'm going to put my information. So again, I can just have this 1 row, 1 column, because I can change it as I need to. And then I'm just going to do File, Save As. In my exam folder, remember I said you might want to create yourself a web pages folder, so I'm going to create myself web pages. And then my very first page, remember we call index. So I'll just call it index and save it in there. You can see the name up here, and I may want to, up here where it says title, change this to home page as well. Once we've done that, we're ready to link this first page back to itself for home page. So we can highlight the text, go into the link here, click on the folder, and link it to our index. This then lets us see how that appears on our link. So we can see there, we click on that, it's just index.html. We can do the other two links quite easily if we just call them what we're going to call them. So shopandcafe.html and enter, and clubsintroduction.html. The key here is you make sure you save your web page with exactly the same file name or the link won't work. That includes capital letters. So once my links are in place, my page template's set up, only thing left for me to do is to save as those other 4 times. So to make this easy for myself, I'm going to click in there so I can see what I actually called it. Do file save as, and I'm just going to copy this name here, so this one becomes shopandcafe.html, and save. Do the same here, and one thing I could do is just copy this, do file save as, and because I've copied it I can just paste it, and then that makes sure my names are saved correctly. And then for the final 2, they were Kids Club and Teens Club, so I can just save them, Kids Club and Teens Club. Try and use the brief, so remember the brief shows you that kids and teens has a Z at the end rather than an S. So by naming things appropriately, it's showing that you're reading the brief, and it will give you those higher holistic marks. That's now all 5 of my pages set up, ready for me to work with. Excellent. On my index, might need to just close my index first and save as here, because what I didn't do was save my index before I started doing save as, so it hasn't got those links anymore. So we'll just overwrite it there, and now it's got the links. So I can change here, this one comes Teens Club, and up here it becomes Teens Club. Same again here, Kids Club, Kids Club. Try and remember your spellings and capital letters. Here's Club's introduction. And again, don't forget to change it at the top. And finally, our shop and cafe. And rather than having to go through and save each of those individually, we can just use this save all, and it will save every web page. What's the last thing we're going to do? You've got it. Update your evaluation. I then inserted a 3-column table to put in my navigation bar for the 3 main pages. I changed the page properties to set up a link colour. I added the colour yellow to my colour scheme, as I thought this would fit the woodland theme better than the default blue. I then inserted another single column table to include a title as requested in the brief, and I set up some headings in page properties to make this a slightly darker green with a larger font size. Finally, to make sure the design was consistent, I did save as 4 more times, carefully naming my web pages appropriately and saving them in a web pages folder. We've missed something out here as well, haven't we? What we've missed out is us doing this logo link. So we're going to add this here. I created a hotspot over the logo to then add a link, so when the audience, you could say user, clicked on the logo, they would be taken to the main website, which was at www. Let's just click on it and see what it was. smartleisurepark.co.uk. And again we save. And you can see how we're not actually doing that much more work to our evaluation, but we've already built up quite a chunky detailed evaluation here from very little extra work, just because we're adding to it as we go along. And now you're ready for the next video.